how does workers' comp in the state of Montana work? Well, we're a no-fault state. So the idea here is that if you have something that is, somebody violates a rule or something like that, you have a safety practice at work, somebody violates that. In some states with some workers' comp, they'll pay for some things, but they're not going to pay for everything because of the rule violation. In the state of Montana, that's not how that works, okay? So the workers' comp does two things here. One, it takes care of the injured employee. Regardless of anything that happened, whether it was the employer's fault, the employee's fault, whosever fault it is, we don't really care. All we want to do is make sure that we get medical treatment, and if that injured employee is injured to the point to where they have lost wages, we cover the indemnity cost. Now that doesn't mean we cover a whole bunch of that. We only cover 2/3. And most people would say, well, okay, so you're not paying the taxes on that, so they're pretty much where they were. Well, not really, in the fact that they're not paying taxes on that, so that can affect how when they fill out their taxes for the coming year, it might have some effect on that. It also means that at some point in time, they're no longer covered with insurance at work, so that's another possibility of things that they lose out on. They're not getting any more vacation time or sick time or building any of that stuff up. So they really do take a hit. But we try, and what we're trying to do is with that 2/3, it covers them to help them pay the bills, and that's just about it, okay? But they don't pay into Social Security or their retirement or any of that other stuff. So from the standpoint of, we do help them out with the medical. We want to get them back to full health as fast as possible or as soon as possible. And that kind of thing. But on the employer side, what this means is that you're protected from lawsuits, so that the employee can't turn around and sue you for, negligence or anything else like that. Now that does come with a caveat, however, and it's a really high bar to clear, to be honest with you. But if the employer does something so egregious that, obviously they were going to hurt somebody, that's a high bar to clear, and the courts have been very protective over that bar. So for someone to be able to clear that bar, there really had to have been something really massively wrong for that employer to get sued. So most of the time, and I would say probably 99 point something time, you're not going to see employers getting sued in the state of Montana because the workers' comp eliminates that. So when you hear that your injured worker got a lawyer, it's more to deal with state fund or with your insurance carrier than it is anything else, okay? So that's kind of how the insurance part of that works. What we want from the employer, we want you to report all claims. That's your responsibility. If somebody comes to you and say, hey, I have an injury, it's your responsibility to report that to us so that we can get that person covered and again, get them the care up front that they need. Okay. Now, some people might say, well, okay, what about these paper cuts and things like that? The company line is, we want you to report all claims, and I support that. That's because if not, you're going to have some issues and some things that will sneak under the bar. Now, realistically, does that always happen? I'm a former mechanic. I spent 14 years as a jet engine mechanic. During those 14 years, I can honestly tell you that there wasn't a day that I went by that I wasn't missing skin somewhere on one of my hands. Did I report every one of those small injuries? No. But you want to make sure that you're covering yourself when your employees report it to you. You document that. You check back with them. You make sure that they're healing. If they're not, make sure that you do that. But realistic, or from the standpoint of the best way to handle it, report all claims, okay? Now, it's the responsibility of your insurance carrier then is going to make that determination whether the claim is accepted or denied. That's our part in this process. We're the ones that do the investigation. We're the ones that take a look at that. We're going to make sure that all the things meet what we consider should be covered, okay? So I think it's important to understand that relationship. So it's the claims examiner that's going to be doing that. The employer doesn't make that call. That's why it's important that you report all those claims. We're the ones that are going to work the claim, okay? So for the statutory rules, an employee has 30 days from the time of injury to report it to the employer or to the work comp carrier. Think about this for a minute. 30 days? So if they report this on day 29 or day 30, what about your accident investigation? How much of that accident scene is going to be there still? Yeah, it's pretty much gone, isn't it? Yeah, it's pretty much gone. So the thing is that what we encourage you to do as employers is to tighten that timeline up. Now, That won't have anything. We're statutorily, work comp carriers are required to follow the statutory requirement of 30 days. But you guys, on the other hand, have the ability to say, hey, we want it reported by the end of the shift. If something happened to you, we want that reported. I've seen where even some companies have had them sign on the back of their time card every day. Nope, nothing happened today. I had no incidences today, okay? So that they're tracking that and making sure that the employees are following through with that. But the idea is they have 30 days to do that statutorily, but you want to tighten that up because you want to be able to do that investigation, okay? So it's important to do that. Now, from the time they report it then, from the date of injury, they still have up to a year to file the actual claim, which means that they can give the information, kind of what happened, fill out the first report, but until they actually sign that first report, we can't file the claim. So the only difference here is, and then I'm going to show you one thing that could happen here, and that's with this next slide, is the fact that now that's an injury. An illness, the employee that has the illness has up to a year from the date they should have known this was occupationally safety, that this was occupationally related to file the claim, okay? Maybe it was something that looked like an injury, but it could be considered also an illness. So when we talk about, for instance, if you have there's a pencil on the ground over there and I go to pick it up, I throw my back out. Okay, so was that an injury or was that an illness? All right, you're saying it's an injury because how many people go and pick up a pencil and throw out their backs? Some. The point is that it could be something that was based on the fact that it's a reoccurring thing, that this is just the last straw, okay? And it could be the same thing when you look at it, if that happened at home. That could still be, if it's an illness, it could still be considered work-related because of the type of work that they do at the office. Say you work at FedEx or something like that, or UPS, and you're moving all those boxes all the time. That's taking wear and tear out on the body. One of the things that we talk about when we talk about hiring practices, and this is one of the things I got from one of our HR guys, is he calls it, when you go to hire someone, you're buying a used car. You're buying all the problems that come with that particular vehicle, because of all the things that happened to him beforehand. So one of the things that kind of happened, I was working with a particular client, and they were a home improvement center, and they delivered sheetrock to job sites. And so part of this delivering to the job site is the fact that, have you guys ever lifted a sheet of sheetrock, right? That's not an easy lift. And it's awkward as all get out. Now, take it through where you have to go down and around the stairs up over here and put it back in this back room. So when we were looking at his injuries, the majority of his injuries were coming from moving sheetrock, because he's got guys that are 40, 50 years old that are moving sheetrock, and so that's having a wear and tear on the body. So it just kind of happened as I was there, but a guy came in and he owns a business, and he says, what my business is that I move sheetrock. You tell me the location, my guys will come in and will put the sheetrock where it needs to be. So you load it up, take it to the spot, we unload it. And the guy that was, the manager of the company is going, no, wait a minute, I'm not quite sure I understand why. What are you doing different than what I'm doing? I have my guys doing the same thing you are. Are you doing something specific? What's the magic bullet here? And he says, oh, well, the thing is I hire athletes. So I hire guys that are 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. I have them move the sheetrock, and they only work for me like 2 or 3 seasons. Now think about this for a minute. Yeah, he's not going to pay for the workers' comp, is he? But what's happening is that they're taking wear and tear on those kids' body. Down the road, someone's going to pay for that stuff, okay? So just kind of keep that in mind as you go forth in this process, that could have an effect. Okay, depending on if it's an illness or an injury. And keep in mind, guys are the worst, aren't we? I mean, I was military trained, so I don't go to the doctor unless I absolutely have to. Matter of fact, it's under gunpoint for my wife when I go to the doctor, because that's what I put that off. I don't want to go to the doctor. Matter of fact, the last time I had an injury and had to go to the doctor, I told my wife I was going to have it taken a look at. I went to the doctor. She actually sent my oldest, who's now was 31, 32 at the time, to follow up to make sure that I actually went to the doctor.